Today we're speaking about the masculine and feminine wounds and how they show up in our lives. Repeated patterns that keep on repeating. Maybe it's the same energy but a different face. And we're asking why. Why is this always happening to me? And you're seeking answers. And it can feel like you're going in circles, but there is a reason why. And it goes deeper than the surface level. It actually goes into your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind holds all of your wounds. It holds all of your belief systems. It holds all of your core memories that have occurred. And because of those memories, those beliefs, those situations that have occurred in our lives, we build like a default setting, like a framework, and that repeats itself, if not consciously healed and dealt with. So we're going to speak about that. We're going to speak about how it shows up in the feminine, how it shows up in the masculine. Graham can chat about that because he's a male.
I'm a dude.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, thank God for that.
And I'm going to be having a chat about how it showed up in the feminine. As a healer and as a kinesiologist, I've worked with numerous amounts of women who have gone through many of their own individual wounds, which I'll share as examples, and maybe these examples very similar to something that you may have experienced. And it might be glimmers into how you can navigate this in your own life. So that's what we're going to touch on. We're going to also answer some questions at the end. So I want you guys to know that we are going to be looking at these questions and answering them. So if you've got something in your own personal life that you generally want to answer to that question, feel free to ask away, and we'll
Do the best we can.
do the best we can with the knowledge that we have and the wisdom that we have to answer those questions for you.
So we can see the comments on divinetimingpodcast.com on Substack. So I have the comments of Substack here. Paula has the comments from Equilibrium Intuitive Instagram, and we also have Divine Timing Podcast on Instagram as well. So I can see those comments. So thank you, everybody. Hello to everybody on all the different platforms that we're live streaming all at once. So if you have questions, we can answer those like Paula said at the end. But hello, everybody. Thank you, Susan, Vicky, and Amy for joining. I see Learn to Love and Respect is back. That's Frank. Thanks, Frank, for joining. We also have Linda Lubitz. And who else we got? Sabrina, it looks like. Sabrina as well. So Sabrina, thank you for being here. All right. Let's kick this off.
Okay, let's talk about
Where do you
it.
start?
So let's talk about what are wounds.
Yeah, what is a masculine and feminine wound?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
So wounds are certain, even if you think about it in reality, when we get wounded, it's because of a hurt that has happened in our life. And some of those wounds create a scar and they don't heal properly. So these wounds show up and we can see them. Some of them are very obvious and some of them are very deeply rooted and show up
In the background.
in the background.
Yeah, they're kind of operating in the background, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we talk about when we're talking about wounds. Did you want to share something?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that, you know, when something happens like a trauma or something at a young age, we don't know how to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And so we write into our operating system of our mind the best thing we have. It's normally a Band-Aid solution, and it's a false belief, or it's some sort of an insecurity or something about the way the world works. And that's the wound. That's the challenge, because we have to move forward and we don't know what to do.
Yes,
so we're
you got
like,
it.
I'm hurt, I'm wounded, I don't know what to do, no one's helping me, I don't have the right tools, or someone's giving me a tool, but it's not really working. They're told me just to stop crying, or don't feel this, or be a man and just keep moving forward.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, I don't know what else to do, so you do that. And then over time you realize that trauma, that wound, that challenge, whatever you went through, wasn't integrated, wasn't felt deeply.
Yes.
And then therefore it shows up in behaviors and reoccurring patterns and things in our life that we're like, why does this keep happening to me? Because it traces back to this wound, this childhood trauma. And we're specifically talking about the wounds around the masculine and the feminine. So I've had my own wounds from both and how they've impacted, you know, my life and shaped my operating system. And that's what we're going to be diving into, our own personal stories of healing, of moving through this, what we've learned, and sharing that with you, and also just kind of unwrapping this whole concept of masculine and feminine wounds, and then also the beauty of coming back home to yourself and healing that, unifying that, and then in relationship, the beautiful union that God has created. That when the masculine and feminine come together, the support and the yin and the yang, that sort of beautiful divine union, is wonderful. And it's such a gift from God that
you can actually appreciate that person because you've healed those parts that are no longer sabotaging your relationships.
Unconsciously. Yeah, now it's like, oh, I'm conscious of this coming up. I'm going to go deal with this. I'm going to go, speak to this inner child that's wounded or insecure, feeling unsafe, and let them know this is not like the past. This is not what happened before. And, you can still have those things come up, but now you have the awareness and the consciousness to treat that area of your life with love and with awareness and proper tools to let it move through you and to nurture yourself into a strong, healthy, mature way of approaching and celebrating your life and sharing it with someone else.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to share.
Awesome. That's great. And just to touch on what Graham had just recently said in regards to the childhood and how when we don't understand something, we create a belief around it just to kind of make it go full circle so we can just move on, kind of compartmentalize something, just put it there and then move on.
Yeah.
So the subconscious mind is here to protect you. It's there to keep you safe. So when a situation happens in our life, the subconscious mind, if we're not able to deal with that situation that has occurred, what the subconscious mind will do is it will take that situation, collect it, and place it into the back of our minds and store it there until we are ready to deal with it. And it will show up repeatedly in certain situations in our life, almost like a little whisper. Hey, are you ready to deal with this now? Hey, are you ready to deal with this now? You've got space to deal with this now. Are you ready to deal with it? And in your conscious mind, you're like, what are you? Go away. Like, why do you keep on showing up?
Yeah.
I'm trying to have a relationship here. Why are you doing this to me? But it's honestly, those triggers are glimmers. They are glimmers to give you that push of like, hey, there's something for you to recognize here. Are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Are you going to do that inner work? Yeah. Yes, it's ugly. Yes, it's confronting. Yes, it's not the most glamorous thing to be crying once you have that breakthrough. Yes, absolutely not. But once you do it, there is something that transforms your life from that experience. You start to shape a new reality. From that confronting experience, you start taking back control and rewriting the story.
Yeah, it's like a sovereignty. You're not trying to control all the outside world anymore like you were when you had those wounds. So when you have those wounds, and I'm speaking for myself here, I used to have, because of some trauma that I went through as a young boy, I used to have to control every environment I went into and made sure that there was no one in there that I felt was a threat. And so if I was in a circumstance like that, I'd have to leave or get those people removed, because I was always trying to control the outside world because inside was so chaotic, was so problematic. And then by going through the inner work, this, sometimes can be ugly or crying or, uncomfortable. Now I don't have to control the outside world. I am in an alignment with myself and sovereign within myself that the outside world could be whatever it needs to be. And I'm no longer triggered by it where it's dictating my behavior. It's no longer pushing me one way or the other. I have a centeredness within myself. And so I think that is a beautiful gift that comes from doing this work, is that you're no longer trying to control the outside world so it doesn't trigger you. You can see the outside world for what it is. It's what it needs to be. People are growing and they're evolving and they're going through their own stuff. And now it's like, okay, this person is hurting. This person is going through something themselves. And I know I've been there and I've been going through something before, and I'm not going to let this person's comment, this person's judgment, whatever it is, get me riled up, because I know I've loved that part of me. If let's say they're calling me a name, and it's like, okay, I don't feel that insecurity anymore, and I'm not trying to control everyone else's opinions of me. So I feel grounded in myself. I feel sovereign in myself. I feel at peace within myself. I don't have to accept, nasty behavior. I can remove myself or set a boundary, but I'm not doing it out of like an unconscious fear now. I'm not running away from a problem. I'm doing it as in a grounded, centered place. And that comes from stepping into those areas that you're running from in your life, that are triggering for you, that keep showing up as patterns of why does this keep not working? I love to put on my like investigator hat, my little, like eyeglass, so to speak, metaphorically. And every time I'm in a situation that it keeps happening, or I'm in this loop, it's like, okay, this is a sign. Like this is the hallmark, the signature of there's a lesson for me to learn, because I keep showing up here. Because like Paula was saying, that subconscious mind keeps coming back and saying, are you ready to learn the lesson? Are you ready to learn the lesson? And that's why we find ourselves repeating these patterns, is because at the deepest level, our soul wants to heal. We want to be free and sovereign and live our lives and share and express ourselves fully. And when we have those wounds that haven't been healed and we haven't come home to ourselves, then that's the beauty of the way life works, is that we'll be continually presented with these issues or challenges or loops to bring us back home to ourselves, to give us another opportunity to face it, to come face to face with what we're running from or what we had struggles or troubles with in the past, and move into it with love and compassion and courage to heal that and come home to ourselves.
Thanks, Graham. And just for those people who have just jumped on and are new here on the live, I just wanted to share what we're talking about. And we're speaking about the masculine and feminine wounds, how they show up in our lives. And apologies to any outside sounds that you may hear, like the birds. We welcome all furry beings and animals here. So based on a few things that we've just shared in regards to the subconscious mind, where the wounds are being held, and how they show up in our lives, and what to do when they do, and how to work with them, which I think it's really empowering standpoint, because it gives you responsibility. Now, some of these wounds, majority of them, probably never came from you, and they probably came from the people that you love most, which is your parents. And although you may see your parents and have a really good relationship with them, there are some core beliefs that they have projected onto us that become part of our framework. And that framework then starts to be questionable as we become adults. So I'm going to give you some really great examples of certain situations, and you tell me, have you experienced this? So I know from experiences from clients that I've seen before, this isn't a belief that she instilled. It was something that was projected onto her. So her father had abandoned her and her mother when they were quite young. And that abandonment was not explained to that child in that moment. So that child had to form a belief in her mind that the people that I love abandoned me. It is not safe, right? People, mainly masculine, because it was the masculine man in her family that was supposed to be the protector. It was supposed to be that security. It was supposed to be that warrior in their life, but had abandoned the family. So again, that child had to create that belief that it is not safe to love a man because they will abandon me. So this core belief was not recognized until we uncovered it. She was attracting unavailable, emotionally unavailable men. So men who couldn't commit, men who were married, men who were not able to give her that commitment in any way, shape or form. And this was repeating itself consistently in her life. And she was like, why is this happening? All I want is a man who's going to stick around, be there, and I can have that happily ever after. But it's not happening. Why? It wasn't until we went back, and I mean back into the inner child, where we discovered, when was the first time that the person that you love most revealed to you that it was unsafe to be loved, that it was unsafe to be chosen, that it was unsafe to start a fully committed relationship? Where did those beliefs come from? And sure enough, as we dug deeper, we began to realize where the root cause of that came from. And that is when something amazing happened, is that once you start healing that and rewriting the story, and recognizing that that baggage, that belief that that little girl was carrying for so long was never actually her baggage. She may have even heard her mother speaking about how men are and created a belief around that too.
Yep.
And that really affects a child because they've created a belief in their self because they didn't have the explanation and the understanding of why. Then they hear their mother complaining about why their father left, these stories, which was not actually the core truth, because you don't have your father there to actually express himself or to share that example of why he actually did leave. And the pieces of the puzzle are missing. Once we rewrite the story and we heal these wounds and we understand from a higher perspective why this actually happened, that your mother and a father, they are both humans going through their own unique experiences, and everything that they experienced had nothing to do with you. Although it felt like it at the time, it's not your fault. And these burdens that you're carrying from your mother and your father are not yours to hold. And the moment you surrender these burdens that are not even yours and you give them back, you step into the essence of who you are, and you're able to then make decisions from that higher standpoint, and your reality starts changing. And now my client, she's in a happily, she's engaged.
Oh, beautiful.
She's engaged, ready to get married because she no longer has that fear. And this is the beauty of that.
That's the breaking out of the patterns once you've uncovered it and come back home to yourself.
Yeah.
I have a story similarly that I heard, and then I'll share some personal stories as well. I was in a self-development conference, and there was a guy who got up in front of everybody, and he said he was making a commitment to a change in his life, and he wanted to help elderly people who had been scammed from online scammers. And he says, I want to dedicate my life to this, helping people that have been scammed. And he said, the reason is I was that kid, or I was that person a while ago. I was scamming old people for money, and I was tricking them into giving me money for credit card debts or whatever it was. And the whole room went silent, and you could feel this like anger towards this man for basically what he had done, but then also like, well, at least he's like kind of trying to make amends for it. And then he told his story. He said when he was a kid, his parents were going bankrupt, and it was devastating. And so his parents devised a plan that they were going to pretend to get a divorce. And then in order, for some reason, that was going to help with the bankruptcy. There was going to help some sort of financial thing. They were going to fake this divorce so that it would help in some way with the finances. I'm not quite sure the details of it, but I remember him saying, when I was a kid, my parents came to me and told me, you have to lie to everyone, even your friends and your other family members, that mom and dad are getting a divorce. You have to lie to all of them. And we're not, but this is what we have to do. And so he learned from a young age, I have to lie to survive. If I don't lie to everyone around me, I'm not going to survive. So what did he end up doing? He ended up going into fraud, like literally defrauding people and lying to them to survive. So that pattern repeated. And so in this self-development course we were taking, there was an invitation, because I think it was a story from Gandhi or somebody who was speaking back in the day, and some guy came up to him and said, this person killed my son, and these two tribes have been warring, or these two groups have been warring against each other. Like, what do we do? And to heal this, because it's revenge, back and forth. And I think it was Gandhi who said something along the lines of, raise one of the other tribe's children as your own and heal this thing, stop this cycle of, punching back and forth. And so the one tribe, or the one guy, was like, okay, and he adopted the one child who was fatherless because they had killed the dad and stuff. And there was this process of healing through that, of making amends. And so this guy in the self-development course heard that story. Forgive me if I'm quoting it wrong, but that's just how I remember it. And he said, now I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to helping people, the fraud detection and getting their money back, or basically supporting them.
What a great way to clear that karma.
To clear that karma. And so you don't have to get to that point of defrauding people, but it's this awareness of the loops and these childhood traumas, masculine and feminine, from our parents, from our loved ones, from those that are taking care of us, that if we don't do something, they eventually spiral out of control into abuse, criminal activity, drugs, addictions, because that little whisper, like Paula was saying, that little like, hey, are you ready to deal with this now? If we keep ignoring it, it grows, and then it gets to something you can ignore, where you're going to jail for it, or you're caught, or you're deep in addiction. So that's the beauty of what we're sharing, is that there is a way out. You don't have to get it. It doesn't have to get that bad. You have to get abusive, or you're about to die, or you're going to jail, before you can turn these things around. And if you are in that position where you're in an abusive situation or destructive, now is the time. There's no avoiding these lessons. We came here to learn these lessons. We came here to grow and to evolve, and then to share these gifts with others. And that's what we wanted to share with you today, is some of the things that we've learned. So Paula, do you have lessons or things that you've learned in your life that you want to share? And then I'll share some, and then maybe we should get to some questions.
Yeah, for sure. There is. So as a mother and a father, in reality, you've got the mother as the feminine energy, and then you've got the father as the masculine energy. Masculine being the protector, the security, and then the mother being more nurturing. And I've experienced something in my life, and God bless them, I love my parents. I love them so much. I see my mum as more of the masculine energy as opposed to the feminine energy. She can be nurturing at times, but it's more masculine. And whereas my father is very nurturing and soft and kind-hearted. And growing up and seeing that, I didn't really understand that there was an imbalance there. Obviously, the woman, I understand that needs to be the nurturer, and the masculine, the protector. But for me growing up, that was like warped.
Kind of reversed, yeah.
Reversed in a way. And I relate to my father. Me and my father are very similar. We're soft-hearted. We're very nurturing. We're very loving. And it's interesting because I developed and learnt those skills from my father, which is interesting. I learned how to be nurturing from my father. I learned how to be kind-hearted from my father. So I've developed that. And then obviously seeing the dynamic between mother and father, my mother being controlling and taking the lead, and my father kind of just sitting back and, not doing that. And I learned that in my relationship, I want to be the feminine. I don't want to take charge and be the leader. And as much as I admire my mother, I love her, and I wish that I could be half the woman that she is, because she truly is an amazing woman, and Graham knows her very well, and she's just the best thing in the world. She's my best friend. But as showing up as a woman in a relationship, I feel like to break that cycle of imbalance of masculine and feminine, it's really important to recognize the role of the nurturer, the mother, the healer, and take on that role, so that way the masculine can then rise up and be the leader and step into that role that they need to be. So that way we can create harmony and balance in our children and our children's children. But if there is that disharmony, there's going to be a distortion.
Yeah, and I think, every relationship's going to be slightly different. I don't think there's any one like blueprint, you have to do it this way and then you're going to be happy. I have always found that, it's as you've stepped more into your feminine, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would guess that you would say, I feel more at home. I feel more authentic. I feel more like empowered in this place. You can step into your masculine if need be. You can be a protector if need be.
But my home is not there.
Yeah, so we all have those energies within us. And I think it's important to recognize that we go through ebbs and flows, and it's not about being the perfect masculine man all the time. And I have the ability to nurture as well. I have the ability to be soft and get in touch with my emotions more so. But I know that where I feel most alive and where I feel most whole is when I'm in my masculine, but also connected to my heart and my feminine too. There's a union there, but I feel more at home in my masculine. I feel more at home there. So I think for each person out there, they're going to have to tap into that and to feel into that. Now, if you've only ever been in, let's say you're a man, but you've only ever felt into your feminine, you've never really tapped into your masculine, you say, well, this feels like home for me because it's all I've ever known. I get that. And so the invitation is to express and explore in a safe way, developing that other energy. So at least you have a balance and an awareness of both. And then you can make that sort of assessment of like, where do I feel at home? Where do I feel called to be? Where do I feel I need to grow more into? Because there's a big challenge right now in our world with this identification with gender and sexual energy and whatnot. And I have found that there's so much wounding, there's so much trauma here. And also culture has a way of manipulating and extorting and forcing people into an unhealthy expression of the masculine and feminine to control them. So this is a really big conversation, but I'm trying to do my best just to kind of give some key markers that I have learned that I think are really powerful and important to understand. And now I will talk about my own experience of both wounded, the masculine energy in me at a young age being wounded through some sexual abuse, and then older going through a divorce and having that feminine energy, my heart space, wounded and feeling, oh my gosh. And then so I've experienced both ends of the spectrum. And what was interesting for me is that the unconscious patterning around both of them was to protect myself. So first I was protecting myself from men, and I felt any man that was in his power or strong and confident, I was turned off. I was hesitant around. I was scared to be around because I thought they might do the same thing to me that happened earlier in my life. And then later, when I went through a divorce, which was very difficult on my heart, I felt like, oh, I can't trust that feminine. I can't trust women. I can't trust my heart to be open because it's just going to get hurt. And so then I found myself looking at the world and politics and different things that were happening around me, and I was adopting belief systems that were almost opposite to what I felt as a young man. And so I thought, oh, this is interesting. These unhealed wounds start to shape who we think we are and how we see the world and what needs to change and what needs to be different, and how these people are bad and they'll always be bad. This political party is bad and they'll always be bad. Or this political party is chaotic and they're just ruining everything. And I thought, oh, this is so interesting. These power structures understand how to manipulate people based on their wounds, their fears. And so the ultimate act of love and self-sovereignty is to go within yourself and heal these parts of yourself, come back home to yourself. Like Paula said, rewrite the story so that we can act from a conscious, caring, loving place with courage and bring people back together, because that's what this talk is about. That's why it's so important to heal the masculine and the feminine wounds within each of us.
The family unit.
Because then we strengthen the family unit. And when you have a strong family unit, what do you have? Stronger communities. Stronger communities.
And nothing can break you down.
Nothing can break you down. So this is where the challenges that we have in society, we can blame all the politicians, we can blame all these things, but that doesn't really produce any change. If we can heal ourselves, which then we heal the relationship between man and women, then we can heal the family, then we can heal the communities. But it starts by taking personal responsibility and recognizing the ways that we've been manipulated, warped, hurt, wounded, traumatized, coming back home to ourselves. And that's what I had to do. I had to recognize that, there are good men out there, that the football coaches and the people that were around me that I thought were supposed to protect me, that didn't. That was a situation with those people. That didn't mean all men in positions of power or all men in positions of coaches were going to do something like that or turn away from that or not stand up or not hold people accountable. So I had to unwire that. I had to rewrite that story. And it was tough because those false beliefs were like just ringing in my ears, trying to protect me, because I developed an operating system of false belief that was there to protect me. So it wasn't about just discarding it and you're not real, it was one step at a time, being patient with myself, being loving, and then moving through it. And the same thing with a broken heart from divorce. It was painful. I'm grateful for the experience now because it's made me who I am. And it's brought me to this place in a beautiful relationship with Paula, that I'm able to open my heart and stand within myself and in my power that I don't believe I could have had I not gone through that experience. So I'm grateful for it, but it was difficult. And I had to take a lot of time to work on that heart and to open it back up and to trust myself and to honor myself and use better discernment, use better judgment, along the way. So it's a beautiful path. It's a difficult path sometimes, but it's so necessary, and this is the real transformational work that we can do. It's not about screaming from the rooftops and trying to get everybody to believe what you believe. You do your own work.
Yes.
I mean, but sometimes that's not
we're
sexy.
We're born alone and we die alone.
Yeah.
And the truth is that we're all on our own unique individual soul journey. And we can sit here and point fingers at people and blame others for why our life has turned in the way it has, or we can take responsibility and actually have the opportunity to look within and make those changes necessary to call our power back. Because it's from that standpoint that we can create a new reality.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Graham, for sharing your insights of what you've experienced and how it shaped you and what you did to heal that. I think the main takeaway was becoming conscious of it.
Yes.
Because from that standpoint, you were able to do something about it.
Yeah. And that it always starts with awareness. It starts with awareness and the courage to see what's actually going on. So, do you want to answer questions now?
Yeah, so guys, I'll give you an opportunity now to ask some insightful questions that are for you to learn and share away. I know some of you may have had experiences that you may want to share, but I really want you to ask the question, yeah? I want you to be able to feel safe, to be vulnerable in this moment. If you want to remain nameless, just say...
My friend.
N. N before you say your question. We won't share who you are.
N is for nameless?
N is for nameless.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we won't.
Or you can always do the thing that I always do is like, my friend went through this experience that...
I do that too sometimes. All right.
Yeah.
Ask away, guys, and we will answer some questions. I've got my live happening on Equilibrium Intuitive, so I can see all of your questions here. And Graham, you've got Substack?
I got Substack here, and I also got Divine Timing Podcast comments as well.
Amazing. Who's going to be the first one? Drum roll, please.
Amy has a general question. She says, why are men not detail-oriented? You can tell... I'm detail-oriented.
It's not all men, see? That's a belief.
Yeah.
There's a belief in your mind that is saying that all men are not detail-orientated. Not true. It's just your experience. You're perceiving it that way based on something that you've experienced that had been a core belief. So look into that. Ask yourself that question. When was the last time you've experienced, or the first time, I should say, that you experienced where someone wasn't...
A man was not detail-oriented.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elaine says, how do you start the process of surrendering?
Okay, funny story is that sometimes you have no other choice. You have no other choice but to surrender because you've done all the other ways and it didn't work. So it's actually trial and error sometimes. Trial and error until you realize that surrendering is the only thing that you can possibly do. So sometimes you're going to be stuck in your ego and hit the same wall over and over again until you realize that that way doesn't work and it's not serving you. And then you go on your hands and knees and you're like, God,
yeah,
I'm done being in control. I've done it for too long now and it's obviously not working. So I surrender this to you. Take the lead. I want your divine intervention because I'm done. I'm through with this. That is at that point of surrender.
And I would also say there's this beautiful intertwining of surrendering, but then also I'm willing to do the work of whatever shows up that I need to do.
Yeah, because you got to.
Yeah.
You have to get to that
yeah.
point.
So it's not like, okay, I'm surrendering. I'm just going to wait for it all to fix itself.
No.
There is a process of listening and being like, okay, I can feel this is the next step for me to take. I can feel this is where I need to, okay, I'll face it. I'll do it. I'll make the phone call. I'll step into this. I'll have the conversation. So you'll always be given that next step.
Yes. And if you're listening.
Rachel says, what if you've had to be the mom and dad because the father passed away? How do you heal from this?
That's a challenging one because in that reality, you weren't given a choice to to choose, right? You had no choice but to step into that. So how do you deal with that? I believe that within the female, we are able to tap into the masculine and the feminine. It's understanding when to tap into it. That is the trick, is that when you're in the masculine for too long, there's going to be a disharmony and a disconnection from your feminine energy. And issues, especially if you're a female, will start arising in your body. Issues with your ovaries, issues with your uterus, issues with your breasts, because you're completely disconnecting yourself from that feminine energy. So I would say, do things that make you feel like a feminine. Dress more feminine. Wear makeup. I know this is really simple, but it does something to us. It invigorates us. Sometimes it's like a cause and effect situation. Dance, move your body, make movements with your body that make you feel more feminine. And then when the masculine hits, it's like the doer, having to do this, having to do that, all the chores, having to make sure that the kids are on time, all these things, right? But then soften when you're home. Soften. Come back into that softness, because your children need that too.
Yeah.
They need to see that masculine and that feminine, and you have access to both. And there is no right or wrong. Obviously, you've been dealt this card for a reason, and God doesn't give you what you can't handle. So I commend you for being in this situation. I empathize with you, and I apologize from my heart that you had to go through something like this. But I want you to know that you are more capable than you realize. And
also that going through this and who you become, learning how to balance these energies within yourself, how to be both, which is obviously not ideal, the mother and the father in this circumstance, that you're going to have a deep growth within you as you learn to balance these energies within yourself, to not abandon that feminine within you, to nurture that, to cultivate that, and then to share that. That's a great example, because you know there are going to be times where you're in a loving relationship, but one of the people isn't there, and you need to have both of those energies within you that are balanced, that you have an awareness of. And if you are in one of them too long, that causes problems, either one, for both men and women. So you need a good, healthy balance of the both. So Rachel, we wish you the best with that, and I think ultimately it's, if you can get into a place of stillness and silence and presence with God, whatever you believe, the divine, your intuition, nature, and ask for the next step. Ask to be shown what it is that you need to focus on or love or come back home to. Help you move forward, will help you heal through this and take the next step and grow. We can make suggestions and ideas, but ultimately the best advice is going to come from above, is going to come from that connection to your heart and in going inwards. So that's what I would say. Sarah says, how do you find that generational traumas shape a lot of our framework?
Okay. So a lot, yes, it does, but also if we get stuck in that, we then don't take responsibility. And I mean that if you see, that happened generation ago, you're looking outward and then you'll stop looking inward. So yes, it does have that domino effect, because beliefs stem down. Also, DNA stems down. So a lot of the traumas.
What does that mean, stem down?
So that domino effect.
Oh, like a domino effect, okay.
So say, for example, my great-grandfather and great-grandmother were in the war, and there was this scarcity. That scarcity then gets stored not only as a belief and gets passed down, but what it does is it gets stored in the physical body, in the cells of the body. And those cells are also connected to the DNA structures. And that DNA structures gets passed down onto generations. So it is deep-rooted in our physical body, in our DNA, in our cells, in our subconscious. Our subconscious is also our physical body, things that we don't actually have control over, which is our digestion, our heart, our lungs. We don't have control over that. That's all subconscious. It's happening in the background. So there are things that can get manifested. A lot of diseases that happen and get manifested through, let's say, everybody says it's inherited. It's inherited because we've got a long line of diabetes. Why? Why is that the case? You know, diabetes can manifest itself because of a situation that occurred, and it's now manifesting itself throughout the generations because someone hasn't become conscious of the root cause of that. Once you become conscious of that, you break that generational cycle. So with relationships and the masculine and the feminine, if the man has gone to war and has died, and the mother then had to be the father and the mother, there creates an imbalance that then is passed through. But it does take someone conscious enough to rewrite that. And maybe you are that person.
If you're asking the question, I think you are.
Yeah, agreed.
McKinney says, how do you know that you have how do you know if you have a hidden issue? What if you have a hidden issue? How would you know?
Good question. How do you know if you have a hidden issue? Now, there would be an issue, but you may not know the root of it.
Yeah.
It's going to appear itself in some way, shape, or form in relationships, in how you perceive them, in how they occur. Patterns are usually the key points of an issue. So that's what I would say is that's how you know there is a hidden issue, because something keeps on repeating itself over and over and over again. And that's something for you to look into.
Dia says, what are your thoughts on having to be mom and dad, feminine and masculine, due to a disengaged husband?
What are my thoughts? My thoughts are that's tough and challenging, and I'm sorry that you have gone through that. I think that it's really important to do some inner work around balancing that within yourself so you can show up as the mother in your family household and not hold resentment towards the masculine, because that is going to hurt you even more. I think doing some healing work around this is the way to go. I believe that the answers are going to come from within you. It's not something that I can give you, because it's something that you need to seek. And when you seek inward, you're going to receive those answers that are specifically for you.
Yeah, and the one thing I was going to add to this is that it takes two to tango. So you can be doing the work, you can be showing up, you can be extending the olive branch, and the other person might not be interested in doing the work. They might not be interested in making a change. And that happens sometimes. Hopefully that's not the situation. You obviously want both parties to show up and be willing to do their part and grow together. There is a great method that I want to share with you guys. It's called SEW. Now, forgive me, I can't remember the name of the doctor who created this, but I heard this, and it's sensations, emotions, and wants. So if you're in a challenging situation, whether it be a disengaged husband or, a fight with your partner, instead of arguing over, hey, you're disengaged, you're not doing these things, you made me feel this way, I don't, feel supported when, you don't take out the garbage, let's say. It's one cliche thing. By using the SEW method, you can look this up on Google and you can probably find the official website for it. But it's sensations, emotions, and wants. So it's non-arguable. So you say, sit down, obviously with somebody that's respectful and wants to have this conversation, so they have to be willing and sincere to do this. And you just express the sensations you're feeling. So I'm feeling tightness in my shoulders. I feel stressed. I'm feeling, my stomach is tight. I'm feeling upset. I'm feeling nauseous. I'm feeling lightheaded. So sensations. Emotions. I'm feeling trapped. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling happy but sad. These are the feelings I'm having right now in this situation. And what I want is to have more union in our relationship. What I want is to have a deeper level of love and compassion. And so it's not about creating anything that's arguable. And this is what I love about this method, is because if you say, what I want is you to do what I say, what I want is you to do this. What I want is our household to run smoothly. What I want is to have a communication that we hear each other and we feel each other and we're able to communicate our needs and it not be judged, and there be a space for that. And so now you can build towards what you want, as opposed to attacking and arguing over all the little nitty-gritty things that are frustrating or aggravating, right? So Mother Teresa said this, and I loved it. It's, I will go to a march for peace, not an anti-war rally, because you need a war to go to an anti-war rally. So focus on where you want to go. Focus on what you want. Acknowledge the sensations you're feeling in your body. Acknowledge the emotions you're feeling in your body. And don't make it about blaming them. You're experiencing what you're experiencing. So acknowledge it, honor it, and then step into, this is what I want to create with you. Would you like to come with me and create this? And let's talk about how we can do that. I love that. And that's a tool that I've learned that I think is fantastic.
I like that very much.
So that's what I have to share. Hopefully that's helpful. You want to do some more, or how are we doing?
I think we can do two more and then we'll wrap it up. So we'll answer short and sweet.
Okay. Does generations between feminine and masculine play any part of feminine and masculine? So I'm thinking Susan is asking about the differences between generations in how they see the masculine and feminine, and does that play any part?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we perceive what we see and hear, and we learn from that. So, like, for example, if you've got a mother and a father, the dynamic is warped, like I explained. You'd either become like your mother, or you would learn from that experience and then do the opposite because you see that it didn't work, or you do the exact same thing. It just really depends on how the mind chooses to use that information and moving forward. I hope that answers that question.
I would say at the core level, there are traits of masculine and feminine that are universal, that are beyond the generations of, what I'm saying, like that the masculine energy, whether it be in a woman or a man, is protective.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are qualities of masculine and feminine that, regardless of what generation they come from, are going to be universal, are going to be seen the same.
Okay.
You agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that comment in there as well. Okay. All right. Last question. Paula, what is your daily routine to have a happy day? Thank you. That's a good one to end on.
I think it's how you also end your evening. That's really important because that really does shape your day, the next day, I find. When I know that I'm out of sorts, I do a brain dump of the evening and just journal everything, let it all go, write it down, and I say a prayer and I surrender it and let it go. And the morning of, it's just, I've got space. I've got space to create that day. I've got space to wake up feeling invigorated and excited because I'm not carrying the stuff that I was carrying from last night. So I think that checking in the evening really does set up the morning. I'm genuinely a happy person. It's just part of my DNA. It's part of who I am. Graham can vouch for that. But it's just my essence. I've done a lot of work around that, and actually the truth is that when something is your essence, it's your essence. It's not something that needs to be changed, forced.
Yeah.
It's just who I am.
But I think also because of the work that you've done, that it's almost like you've done a lot of work to cut those sandbags, and we all naturally float towards that. Those good feelings.
Yes, but yes, but it goes deeper than that. I feel, in the most humble sense, I feel like I'm very much an old soul, and this is not my first rodeo, and I've come here to serve. So I believe that a lot of who I am stems from being here as a leader, as in service. So a lot of those things doesn't really get to me, because there's no lessons for me to learn there, because I am who I am. I'm at my core essence and I'm here to serve.
So then in previous experiences, lifetimes, whatever, maybe.
Potentially. Can't tell you.
You've gone through a lot of that, yeah. Awesome, guys. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching. If you're just joining now, you missed portions of this, or there was some, delay in the signal, we'll be posting the replay on divinetimingpodcast.com, also on Instagrams as well. We're going to crop it and change it so it's vertical. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Any final thoughts?
Thank you guys for watching. It's an honor to serve you, and I'm excited to jump on again and share some further insights. So stay tuned.
Yes, and thanks for your comments, guys. Much appreciated. We'll see you soon. All the best.
See ya.